Hey guys, and welcome back to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. And guys, I have an awesome video for you today, and guys, it's going to be a long one, so you might want to grab yourself a little snack and as we get into this. So this is a test of the latest Sega Saturn core. I'm running the latest unstable core on the latest unstable version of the MiSTer operating system, and these are all your requests. I bundled in a couple of requests from me as well. Now I did a community post, I think maybe even like a couple of weeks ago. Here's a little screenshot of it, where as I got my dual SD RAM set up from MiSTer Add-ons. Thanks, MiSTer Add-ons. I wanted to put it to the test, in particular with the Sega Saturn, because all this time I've been using the single RAM version. So every game in here is going to be using the dual RAM that's available. So that's the dual RAM Sega Saturn core. Also in the OSD, I've just selected that 4 megabyte like RAM boost cartridge. It's just on for all the games, and that's the way I've done it. So I guess this would be the max performance mode for the Sega Saturn. And this game here, guys, this is absolutely brilliant. I think it's called Time Bocan. I have to look at the names before I do the video and the voiceover. And I just want to thank you guys for recommending these games. So guys, I've pretty much gone through all of your games. There's a couple of games I couldn't find, like someone said Galaxy Fight 2 and Sega Rally 2. I couldn't find them, so I couldn't do those. And there was a couple of games that like didn't boot up at all. I didn't show those, but all your games should be featured in this video. I absolutely love this game. I think this game's fantastic. It's just so charming, and thank you whoever recommended it. I know you recommended a few games in the post. I think I've actually done all your games, but I wanted to start with this because this is banging. So guys, as I always say, if you're not subscribed to the channel, then hey, a subscription and a like is super duper appreciated. Let's have a look at some more Saturn games. Okay, so someone requested Burning Rangers. Now I've tried this game before on single SD RAM, and it ran okay from what I remembered. Now this is actually a decent game. I think if I played this game around the time the Saturn was out, I would have thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's aged quite well as well, given the fact it's a 3D game. It looks really, really nice, but I feel this is something that would benefit from screen filters, because the textures just look a little bit too blocky. It's a fun game. Definitely play this game with volume, because there's a lot of vocal prompts in this, but it's running good. It's running well. And one thing I want to say here as well, because like before I got my dual RAM setup, I've been using a single RAM setup for a long time on the MiSTer. It's only like the last couple of weeks that I've had this. So I think if you're using a single RAM setup, compare this with your own gameplay, you know, and then maybe you can decide for yourself, is it worth you upgrading to a dual RAM setup? I mean, I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm quite happy with my single RAM setup. The additional benefits you get with dual RAM at this current moment, I'm not that kind of fussed about it. The main reason I got it was I was kind of hoping Mortal Kombat would come out October the 8th. That's been delayed. We don't know if that's going to come out or when it's going to come out. And in anticipation for that, I mean, that was a kind of good thing, because it kind of made me go out and seek like a sponsorship deal. So I've got my additional setup. So I definitely reap the benefit from that target release date. But make up your own mind as to whether you think single RAM is okay, or you know, at some point you might want to go dual RAM. But yeah, I mean, like Burning Rangers, yeah, it looks and runs good. Okay, so here we have Shinobi Legions. Now guys, honestly, like I can't tell the difference. So like in something like Shinobi Legions, it ran exactly the same for me on a single stick RAM as it did a dual stick RAM. Now speaking to people over on the Discord, some people say some games actually run better with a single stick, some run better with a double stick. Someone might want to keep a count of how many times I say single stick and double stick. I tend to use the same word a lot, and that goes anyway, but Shinobi's running good. Just remember, when you're running Shinobi, go into input and turn just leave 2-player on off, because when I first ran this, it crashed on the FMV, but then I went into the input settings, I turned the second input off, and voila, absolutely no issues whatsoever. Okay, so here's one of your requests, not one of my requests, because as far as I'm concerned, there's only 2 snowboarding games out there. 1080 snowboarding on the Nintendo 64 and SSX Tricky, which was multi-format, but I mainly played it on the PlayStation 2. So Steep Slope Riders, the sound for this works. It's fantastic. There was no issues with the sound. I've turned it down myself, for the reason being I kind of got Pearl Jam vibes. I mean, it wasn't exactly Jeremy or anything, but yeah, I kind of got Pearl Jam vibes. And hey, I try and avoid getting any copyright strikes or violations because hey, a strike can have a negative effect on the channel. And I think the other one, like a copyright claim, can stop the video from being monetized. I don't make huge amounts of YouTube, but I tell you what, the little bit that I do get, it does come in handy once a month. So yeah, you know, I want to keep things good on the channel. So yeah, this is all right. I mean, I didn't feel this was a bad snowboarding game. It's a snowboarding game. Okay, next up, guys, I think we've got a few beat 'em ups that we're going to go through. I think later on in the video they appear together, but I did get a request saying you want to see the Saturn core with some screen filters, with some scan lines or visual effects that are out there. So at the moment there's no visual effects, but I'm going to go into the menu and I'm going to pick some visual effects and we're just going to go through them. Honestly, they really don't look that good on YouTube. That's why I don't use them. When I'm playing, because I don't have a CRT and I use, like, you know, newer flat panels, I really like the scanline effect. I think it looks very, very good. However, by the time they come over to YouTube, they just look terrible, especially on smaller mobile devices. But, you know, you guys requested it, so I thought I'll do it. So this is Street Fighter Alpha 3. I went into training mode on purpose. Yeah, just ran some of them in here. So let me know what you guys kind of think. Let me know if they kind of come out okay, because honestly, if I could run all my games with scan lines, every video I would run them with scan lines to make it look more authentic to how they originally played. But honestly, they get destroyed online. I remember when I started my channel, before I started doing FPGA stuff, when I was just doing retro stuff mainly via emulation, I was always using scan lines, and at one point I just remember seeing my video on a mobile device and I was like, this looks terrible, and in the end I just had to leave it. But there you go, that's kind of like all the options there that we've got. You know, if you've got the Saturn core, then maybe you want to try this stuff out for yourself. If you are you know, if you are a content creator or you're uploading stuff, I would recommend not having any filters. Okay, let's have a look at Virtua Fighter 2, which was one of your requests, and this is the only other game that I'm going to mess around with scan lines. I'm going to turn the scan lines on after the first round, and we'll have a look at the second round with some visual effects. Like, the VF games are fantastic. I just wish if I played more of them when I was younger. Like in my circles, we tried it, but no one really got into the game. So here I am. Let's just go into the presets and let's go to scan lines medium. And honestly, I can't see much of a difference. I don't know if it's not working on this game, it's not supported. I don't know what it is, but in between having no filter on and having the medium on, I can't see much of a difference. Maybe you guys can spot something if it does get through YouTube's compression. But having a look at VF2 as a game, man, it runs brilliantly. And if you're a VF2 fan, play it on the core now. It's brilliant. Okay, so this was requested by more than one person, and this gets, every time I do a request video, Radiant Silvergun always comes up. Now, I need to learn how to play this game. It's a fantastic game. It's made by Treasure. I love Treasure's games. They're very original, they're very unique, and only they can put, like, well, maybe not only they, but they're one of the people that can put a spin on a genre that's typically very, very similar to other games in the genre. This game runs fantastically well. It runs amazingly well, and this is one of the ones that on the earlier versions of the core, I remember, like, it had a lot of graphical issues. It would kind of run and everything was just weirdly colored, but this was working really well for me because I remember testing this on my single SD RAM setup and it worked really well, and honestly I think it's working equally as well. But you guys let me know if you're playing this on your single SD RAM setup. Are you seeing an improvement in what you're seeing on screen now, or is it exactly the same? Always like your guys' feedback. I feel like I only do like 50% of the work, 50% of the work regarding what's going on in the core, you guys deliver in the comments. So definitely keep that stuff up. But as you can see, Radiant Silvergun is running amazingly well. Okay, another request, Croc. Now, this is a game I would never ever play because, hey, when I saw this, I kind of saw this on the PlayStation. Hey, I was a grown up then. I didn't look at platformy games because, well, if I did play a platform game, it would have been a new platform game of a mascot that I grew up playing. Definitely not Croc. Never interested me. But hey, you know what? I'm a channel. You guys are stuff, and I run it. Now, one thing really weird about this has tank controls. I've just never played like a platformer with tank controls, so it just felt really, really weird. I'm sure at the time it worked and people got used to it. I mean, I really liked tank controls. I played like the Resident Evil games. The Onimusha 1 and 2 are amazing games, especially Onimusha 2. Really hope that does get like a remaster the way we got the Resident Evil remasters. Talking of that, tank controls, Dino Crisis 1, especially Dino Crisis 2. Really hope that gets a remaster as well. But this works. It's a platforming game. It works really, really well. So if this was part of your childhood, you can enjoy this in all its glory on the Sega Saturn core. Okay guys, so X-Men versus Street Fighter, something that gets requested nearly every time, and I run it every time. Now, I'm going by memory here, but I remember having the same issue that I'm having here. Having the same issue on the single RAM version. I mean, having exactly the same issue on the dual RAM version, where you kind of get into the game a little bit, and yeah, the graphics, the colors are all off. Even though I'm colorblind, I can tell that they're off, and it doesn't get into game. You can kind of go to character select, and once you go there, it's going to lock up. I think right about now. Am I right? Here we go. This is where it locks up. It doesn't. Oh, this screen is where it locks up, definitely, and it doesn't go any further. So same result on this. With same when I tried it on the single, same on the double. So that's definitely interesting. Okay, so the last time I ran this, it didn't work for me. So this is the Street Fighter collection. I think it has Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Street Fighter Alpha 2. It's a 2-disc game, so I'm running disc 1 at the moment, and like playing Super Turbo on this, it felt off. I mean, it didn't look bad. The moves were coming out. I don't know. There's just something felt off about this game. And when I got to the second game, it just kind of froze a bit. Now, I've left the loading screens in here on purpose because I want to show you guys the fluidity of it. When you're playing Street Fighter, you just want that stuff going on there. Now, we've got CPS2 on the MiSTer, so I don't see much point in playing this. There's no added value in this. There would be no reason to play this whatsoever unless you played it on the Saturn and that's what you liked. You've got loading times. I wouldn't say Neo Geo CD default loading times, but you definitely got times that breaks up that flow, especially when you just get battered by your buddy and you just want to mash that button and destroy him again, but you end up getting destroyed 7 times in a row. But at least you don't have to wait. So this will probably frustrate you a little bit more. But yeah, once the game starts, obviously there's no loading in between rounds, but there's loading in between the fights, in between like the character select screen. But it's nice to see it working because I know I tried this previously. I don't know the last time I tried this, it just didn't work. So I didn't try disc 2 because I'm going to try the separate version of Alpha 2 rather than the one that's in the Street Fighter collection. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go through a few fighting games. There's a lot of fighting games in this video. So this is Street Fighter Alpha 2. This isn't the version that's bundled with the Street Fighter collection. This is, in fact, I think the one bundled with the Street Fighter collection is actually Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold. I don't know what the differences are. I don't know much about Alpha 2. I only started playing it on Fightcade because it was quite popular. And when I played it, I actually liked it. Now, out of the Alpha games, I have to say, Street Fighter Alpha 2 is my favorite. I prefer it over 3. Let me know what your kind of favorite Alpha game is if you've played all of them. I only started playing this recently, but it reminds me a little bit of like Super Turbo Plus. Like if Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo got a sequel, I guess it would be Alpha 2. It just reminds me of that a little bit. Now I know you can pick the different isms, the different styles, your gauge style in Alpha 3. Now I always pick like the middle one, which is like your 3 bars, but you've got like the Super Turbo one in here. But it's just this game just feels really, really good. And if you haven't played this, you should definitely play it. A lot of people still play this on Fightcade, so you know, if you want some competition on there, there's a lot of good players on there. I actually even played John Choi one day. Very, very nice guy, very, very polite, and man, what an amazing player. Okay, and one of the other reasons I like Street Fighter Alpha 2, man, I just love like the intro to it. It is so awesome. I mean, all the Alpha games do have good intros, but this one's really, really good. I'm going to shut my mouth up and I'm going to just crank that volume out so you can watch the intro and hear the music. Okay, epic, right? Let's move over to the next game. Okay, another request. In fact, if the fighting games weren't requested individually, someone said, can you show a whole bunch of 2D games? And hey, I don't need an excuse to run 2D fighters because it is one of my favorite genres. I generally prefer 2D over 3D fighting games. Hey, who doesn't like them? Okay, so this one here, again, like the graphics, I think when I ran it on my single version, I'm getting the same result as I'm getting on a double. I can't remember if I got in game or not, if it crashed before it got into the game the way the X-Men versus Street Fighter did. I did manage to get into game, but you're going to see the graphics are how they are. Now, another thing to kind of point out here, if you're playing the Saturn core, whether it's on single or double, if a game doesn't work for you, just give it a reset. That's working for me a lot. So I tested a lot of games, at least 20 games in this video, maybe even more. Now, out of those, maybe 4 or 5 of those didn't load first time, so I just went into the OSD, I pressed reset, and they worked. It wasn't the case for this game. You know, I did actually try a reset on this to see, are the graphics going to start, you know, working or getting better? They didn't. I kind of knew they wouldn't, but hey, I just wanted to try that. But you know what? I mean, I'm colorblind, but if your color blindness is more messed up than me, you might even see this as normal. Who knows? But it's running full speed. The sound is there, but the graphics aren't quite done yet. I'm sure like this will get resolved in a future update because hey, the core's just coming along and along and along. And honestly, won't be surprised if we get another update within the next few days or the next few weeks that will fix a lot of the issues that are currently present with the core. Okay, so as for X-Men Children of the Atom, now this is a game I never really played. I never saw it in the arcade. I never really played it on emulation, you know. Like the one I played in the arcade was Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and no one was ever in the arcade playing it. It was across the road from a Chinese takeaway in central London, in Soho. And when I used to be working around there doing some kind of like nightclub work, I used to go and get my dinner, and in between there I used to play, so they had Alpha 3, they had Marvel vs. Capcom, and they had Soul Blade. So I used to variate between the games. But that Marvel vs. Capcom 1 it's probably my favorite like superhero versus game. It's the only one I like. Can't really play it that well, but it's nice. It is nice to mess around on them and see like your favorite childhood Marvel characters in there. But X-Men Children of the Atom, it seems to be working fine for me, like no issues. Okay, so guys, some of you guys requested some of the super scalar games, and let's have a look at them. And yes, I'm able to pick Magical Sound Shower. The sound is good, it is loud, it just feels perfect to me. And guys, like one of the best gaming soundtracks ever, Outrun. It's just banging. Even the newer versions of Outrun that I really like, and I still play. Yeah, it has just what a great soundtrack. But this is running really well. It just feels, I mean, honestly, I don't notice any difference between this and like the arcade version. I mean, there might be differences. For me, it feels bang on. But hey, I'm not the one with, you know, crazy attention to detail. Like, I overlook and I miss a lot of stuff. But as far as having fun goes, man, this just plays fantastically well, man. And you know, you want to rock it out to some Magical Sound Shower. Okay, so I tried this like 3 times in total. I reset it, I went through a power cycle, but for now, Afterburner, this is as far as it gets. It goes on that loading screen, and that's it. It doesn't go any further. For a while, I was thinking, does it take really long to load? But I think waiting 5 minutes for it to load is definitely more than a reasonable amount of time to give this. Okay, so Space Harrier, guys, like absolutely love this game. Pretty sure it was the Atari ST that I played it on a lot, and from what I remember, the Atari ST version was good, but hey, this is a great version of it. We don't have an arcade core of this, but honestly, this just feels absolutely great. This is just such a pleasure to play. And Space Harrier, if you haven't played it, it is a classic Sega arcade game that everyone should at least experience once. And yeah, definitely check it out. It looks so cool when the guy's like running along the floor, but when you run along the floor, you might fly around and beat a dragon, but then you're gonna lose a life to a stone, which if I was in the arcade, I would definitely feel gutted. I mean, you beat a dragon and then you run into a stone. I think I end up losing another life to a tree. Don't know if we're gonna watch the video for that long, but hey, Space Harrier is working good. Check it out on the Saturn core now. Okay guys, this is Power Drift. Now in the latest community community post where I asked for, you know, what you want to see tested for this particular video. This wasn't mentioned in there, but this was mentioned by someone in a previous viewer request community post. But I didn't have the game. I only had it as a CHD and not as bin .q. So I thought, let me run this, and hopefully whoever requested that is still a viewer or a subscriber of the channel. And here you go. You know, I do forget a lot of stuff, but sometimes I remember. So this is for you, buddy, whoever you are. Now guys, educate me here, because is this a super scaler game? Because the way the road bends and the way like all the graphics look and the way the animation is, it definitely gives me like those Outrun vibes. I knew nothing of this game until it was kind of mentioned, and then I kind of looked into it. So it'll be really nice. This core's coming along so fast, so nicely. And honestly, update all the core that's available via update tool doesn't support the CHD format yet, but hopefully in a future update, once the core gets updated and it hits update tool, hopefully it will get CHD support. So hold tight for now. Okay, I am not going to try and pronounce the Japanese name of this, but Groove on Fight, hey, that's part of the title, or that's the title when translated. And guys, like, thank you for your request. Like, I discover a lot of new games because you guys tell me about these games. It's very unlikely that I'll go to this game and play it. The only time I do that is if I'm on something like my Steam Deck and I'm testing out random games and just having a bit of a laugh with EmuDeck. But yeah, I like this game. It's a fighting game, and I guess you guys know I like fighting games too. So thank you for requesting / recommending this. So yeah, this feels really good. I'm not usually into big characters when it comes to game, either smaller, faster characters, or you're kind of like medium style characters. I've never been like a Zangief player. You know, if my character's been big, it's been someone like Honda or Blanca that still has like a decent amount of mobility. But yeah, this is really good. It's running really well. I can see on the left hand side of the screen there's like a little line there. I didn't actually notice it when I was playing because I guess I was focusing more on the characters and the fighting I was doing. But now that I'm watching the replay and doing a voiceover, I noticed that. I don't know if that's there on hardware or if that's just here in this core. And the loading times on this stuff, it's not massively long, but as you can see, I'm running it and there is some loading. And what I'll do is I'm just going to carry on and try and fill this void until the next fight starts. So okay, as you can see, that was quite a long bit, and I did try and keep it entertained during it, and I probably failed miserably. But one thing I do hope this core gets, and it's very likely at some point it gets like a 2x 4x CD load speed increase, you know, so that'd be really good. So if you're playing something which is known to have long loading times, hopefully they can be eliminated, and it definitely makes fighting games, or the flow of fighting games, a lot better, because it's horrible having to have long loading times in between. And that's why usually arcade versions of fighting games will always be superior to like CD based home console versions. Have you ever wondered, what if Sonic the Hedgehog was a car? Well, this is Tri-Rush Deppy, and thank you for recommending this again, guys. Like, again, knew nothing of this game, and it's a platformy game where you're like a little car just kind of speeding around and doing things. Definitely reminds me a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's different enough from Sonic, but just the fact that he's kind of rushing around at times definitely gives me off those Sonic vibes to some extent. So I'm sure, yeah, this feels like a decent game. I don't know if it's something I'll play. It looks good. Love the graphics. Love how it looks. It's cute. It has charm, and you get to be a little car instead of a hedgehog. Okay, so guys, this just kind of sucked. So this game here is called Turyu Densetsu Alandori. Hopefully I've said it correctly. It was one of the ones you guys requested or recommended. And you know what? It was an interesting game. You get to like ride dragons and you're fighting. It was definitely interesting. Maybe not something I would play, but it was definitely something good to have a look at. But unfortunately, I must have not been recording it, and I pressed record when I was supposed to finish pressing record. And then when I was renaming the file, I don't know, but I messed up. So sorry, I can't show you footage apart from that continue screen where, you know, I had a couple of fights and then I died. Okay, so this is Golden Axe the Duel, another game that I really like. And like I always say, if you like Street Fighter and you like Golden Axe, you really should try this game out. Now, I did notice a difference on this between my previous videos when I was playing this on a single RAM version of the MiSTer, which was the sound kind of dropped out and the balancing for the sound for some reason was wrong. Now, I don't know if this is just random, but I had two fights. For this video, I fought two characters, and yeah, the sound just remained intact. It didn't go. So this is one of those games that would kind of start with sound and it would go. And if you remember earlier versions of the core, like sound would start within a second, it would go, and then like if there was something like a reset where you you know, finished a round or you moved on to another character, the sound would come back and go again. But at least for now, but I only did two fights, so maybe it was going to go in the third one. But my experience with this on dual RAM, at least in the testing I did, which by no means is definitive, this ran better with on the dual RAM version of the core. The sound was just, well, it was sound, whereas the sound's got a lot better on the single stick version. But even if it goes like one round and it goes halfway through the second, at some point it does mess up a little bit. So that was kind of nice to see. But hopefully in future updates they'll be uniform. Both cores will perform, both SD-RAM single and double will perform just as well. And this is a banger of a game, guys. Like, try this out. Honestly, really good. Okay, so this was a request, like most of the things in this video, in fact. So this is Power Slave. I think this was also known as Exhumed. So yeah, this runs really well. It runs full speed. It just runs decent. And I remember like seeing this game for like different formats. I think it was out for PC as well. Now, one thing I've said it before as well, where when it comes to playing like these first-person shooters on the Saturn, I don't know, the control scheme just seems to work. It's like when I go back to playing FPSs on the Nintendo 64, the controls definitely feel dated. I also hate the fact that on the Nintendo 64 everything is just, it's inverted by default, but it feels really good. The L and R button work really well as strafe. I mean, I find it difficult going back to old controls, especially for first-person shooter games, but this one, like a lot of the Saturn games like Duke Nukem, Power Slave, I think I can actually play them, and I'll be able to play them all the way through. I don't have any issues with the controls. I don't have to think it. It just flows quite naturally, even though obviously they are dated, they are quite old, but at least for me, I think the controls are good. And here I am getting destroyed by a little spider, but that's got nothing to do with the controls. That's just me and me being bad generally. But hey, if you wanted to check out Power Slave, and this is one of the games you played on the core, honestly, it's running really well. I saw some like little graphical kind of, I don't know, just little kind of artifacts coming. Again, I don't know Saturn well enough to know whether that was there on original hardware, or whether you know, that's because there's something up with the core. It's not, something's not quite right and it's bringing that stuff up. By the way, if you do play this, the C button's the action button. It took me a while to figure it out. Had to press the button to open the door. But anyway, let's move over to the next game. Okay, so guys, this is the last game we're going to be having a look at. And again, like, guys, you know when I say in my videos I'm saluting you, honestly, I've got my right hand on my forehead and I'm saluting you. Whoever recommended this game, thank you. I like it. It reminds me of like the single screen platformers, but obviously it's not single screen because you're walking along. But I get those, like, you know, Snow Brothers, Bubble kind of vibe from this. This is a good game. I really like it. So thank you. And honestly, sir, I salute you for recommending this to me. So this is called Mizubaku Daibuken, also known as Liquid Kids. I think I'll call it Liquid Kids because, hey, that's easier. And guys, this game is just, it's fantastic. Like, I'm going to play this game for sure. Like, there's a few games I found on the Saturn that I really like, and one thing that I found above everything else, man, there's so many good 2D games on the Saturn. It's just a shame that when the Saturn came out, people were kind of getting more into 3D. Those games, like a lot of the 3D games, they haven't aged that well. The 2D ones, mwah, they just look magnificent. But that's really it for this video, guys. Everything here was tested on a dual SD-RAM setup, 2 sticks of 128 on the MiSTer FPGA. I had in the OSD, I set the Saturn RAM to 4 megabytes, so you know, I guess maximum performance that you can get on the D10 Nano, and the options available in the software. So that's really it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs up, subscription, all that good stuff is super appreciated. Take care of yourself, take care of each other. I'll see you guys around. This is Pixel Cherry Ninja out.